Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, and today I am here with my friend, Mr. Chris Stiles, who is a human futurist. And he runs his business, which is all about the human futurology side of things. Hi, Chris, how are you doing?
Hello, John. Lovely to see you again and really looking forward to this chat. Thank you. I think that there is a very high probability that all of a sudden Michelle Obama is going to be announced as Biden's running partner because that would make perfect sense in terms of her and Barack's architecture. And John, that would set a cat amongst the pigeons because guaranteed then America will get its first female president. And to me, that would be the event whereby the number two energy, which is cooperative, nurturing, collaboration, far more engaging. What can we do as a collective? It would really stick it to this number one energy. And really, John, the number one energy now needs to get out of the system because it has been responsible for a lot of damage, a lot of war, a lot of heartache, a lot of chaos. And the number two energy actually is all about searching for peace.
Mm,
And that is how I think it could potentially happen.
interesting, very interesting. And I remember when I first started living out in California back in 2008, it was just at the time of the election because I used to live on East Colorado Street in Pasadena, and we had an apartment, and outside was the big road kind of thing. And immediately after the election, it was like a New Orleans festival out there. There were cars going up and down the road for hours on end, peeping the horn, everybody's shouting and joyous celebration and all this. And then he had his 8 years in power, but was failing to deliver on a lot of what he wanted to do, which was not his fault, to be honest, because he was stuck in a system which didn't allow him to a large extent to deliver on what he wanted to deliver. And I would have always said as well, as a point of interest, I don't know how true this might be, but the way I always looked at his leadership, he was more of a two than a one, right? That was the way he came across to me. Now, I know it's a
John,
feminist
are
energy.
you actually talking about Barack Obama?
Barack Obama, yeah.
Well, if I can just stop you there, Barack Obama's life path, which may mean nothing to people watching this, but it's a critical number. His life path sequence is 2011-2. So that means that everything about him is geared to try to find the cooperative, peaceful, diplomatic, and beneficial to people type of solution. Hence Obamacare. Sorry, John, carry
Yeah,
on.
no, that's that, but that does not surprise me because what you're saying there is his numbers back up the person that he presented to the world. Because you saw such a contrast when you went to Trump, right? Or the previous incumbents that had been there, pre Barack Obama, right? So there it was that one energy was very strong, very egocentric, very division energy, on both sides of that. Yet Barack Obama, whilst he didn't have the mandate to basically deliver what he wanted to deliver because he was slightly hamstrung on, the way that the American political system is, and he did deliver on certain things, but you could see his collaborative energy, the way that he faced out to the world was actually something where he had a degree of humility and kindness about him. It wasn't authoritarian. It wasn't division energy. It was pulling people together. Now, I know there's a lot of people, for instance, a lot of Republicans would disagree with this entirely because they just thought he was a weak leader. He was trying to do the wrong things. And the division there between Republicans and Democrats is exceedingly strong in America. And people will go through an entire lifetime just supporting one team, not the other, and not even considering the alternative, because whether it was their parents or whatever, they'd pin the colors to the mast, and then all they ever looked for was whatever evidence was out there to support the decision they'd already made. So the swing voters, as we know, is actually quite a small minority of the electorate. Most people have made their mind up, and you could put a monkey in front of them and say, okay, this is our Republican candidate or our Democrat candidate, and they would vote for the monkey because that's kind of what they do. But and it's no better in the UK, right? I mean, the UK just has exactly the same kind of structure, if you like, in a way. People are always been Labour or they've always been Conservative, and it's it's but the Michelle Obama kind of idea is obviously something that very few people would have considered at this point. But looking at the logic of the way that would play out would be quite encouraging, because I know when we were talking about this before, you were kind of like you were going back maybe a year and a half ago, we were talking about this, and you were seeing that Trump had the potential to get back in at this stage. What's happened with Trump?
John, such an interesting question. So Trump got in 2016. And there was a very interesting, unique set of numbers that formed a sequence around that year for it. Now, that exact same string of numbers, that sequence that gave him success in 2016, repeats again, interestingly enough, in 2025.
Okay.
So the thing is, if you look at this, you could very easily, make the deduction, well, Trump is going to come through and he's probably going to win again in 2025. The thing is, that sequence is absolutely unique to 2025. And then after 2025, in 2026, there's another very extreme experience that takes place for him. The other thing, John, is this year, 2024, having looked at the architecture of Donald Trump's blueprint, there is a double six that presents in the mathematics that I do for him on a personal level within the emotional sphere of the modeling that I do. This talks to very, very dramatic and troubled relationships. And we see that he's got this double six presenting very powerfully in 2024 on a personal emotional level. What this reveals is that this is a year when he is going to have an enormous amount of chaos on a personal emotional level around relationships, responsibility, matters of the heart, sense of community, etc., etc. So this does not bode well for him at all. Remember, Trump is also born in June.
Okay.
So I am expecting a lot of chaos. You look at Melania Trump, you don't see her anywhere. When he did his previous campaign in 2016, he was surrounded by his family, Ivanka Trump, etc., really helping him get the message out. At this moment, wherever you look, wherever he goes, he's literally just this solo individual,
right,
delivering this message. So I think that Trump, given what his intelligent mathematical blueprint reveals this year, is in a much, much more weakened position campaigning towards the end of 2024 than he was when he was doing it in the lead up to his taking the presidential election in 2016. Then also the way his numbers change, John, indicate high risk. So I think that looking at Trump, yes, at the moment he certainly appears to be the front runner in terms of the Republican nominee. But either way, John, if Trump does ultimately become the man who fronts up the presidential campaign for the Republicans, it's not going to happen for them. It is absolutely not going to happen for him. His numbers, having reviewed them, having analyzed them very carefully, and having looked at them in context in terms of the advancements that I have made research and intelligence wise since I chatted to you last, there is no way that Trump will win a presidential election this year, should he be the front runner. And also, I don't see a Republican winning this. I truly believe that this is going to be a Democrat victory. And the interesting thing, John, just to come back to the UK, having looked at that landscape there, Keir Starmer, who is obviously Labour's leader, he has a golden set of numbers with critically important attainments aligning for him in 2025, which reveals that 2025 is one of the most important years of his life. Interestingly enough, a number that is crucial to his architecture on a numerical level presents from October, November, and December of this year. And Rishi Sunak has just announced that the general election will take place during the autumn of this year. So we're probably looking at November or thereabouts. So everything is advantage, Sir Keir Starmer. And this again would bring such an interesting shift, because it brings Labour in at a time when the Democrats would come in. And, you know, John, I think what this is doing, you know, we can either all celebrate this, or if you support the other party, you can think that the sky is falling on your head and it's the end of the world. This morning I saw, or I heard Richard Tice, the leader of the Reform Party, talking about Starmageddon. But John, one of the things that we need to do is we need to take a step back, and we need to actually look at a much bigger picture. Remember what I said, let's forget about team versus individual, team versus team, nation, country, region, east versus west. What we are dealing with right now in the world is the conflict that is taking place between the number one, which is in its death throes, and the number two, which is coming through. And therefore, we are moving into a world which is going to be all about cooperation, collaboration, peace, harmony, working together, looking for a greater equilibrium. And John, this is going to throw the world of business as we know it into a state of complete chaos, because as much as people would love to deny this, the world of business throughout the world is governed by one thing and one thing only, and that is greed.